Well, hey everyone, it's Andrew Bro, and I'm back with another introduction to macOS video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can optimize your dock as well as some settings to kind of get a better experience for you on your Mac. So let's dive right in. When you first log into macOS, this is what you are greeted with. This is the default settings on any Mac that you log into. And as you can see, I've got quite a few apps down here on the dock, and I'm probably not going to use every single one of these. And maybe there's some other apps that I've added to my Mac or that you will add to your Mac that you're like, hey, I access those every single day, and maybe I don't really do anything with Apple News. So how do I get this thing off of the dock and put an app that I'm going to use every single day on the dock? Well, it's pretty simple. All you're going to do is click and drag this application off of the dock out anywhere into the desktop, and you'll see that it says remove. And so if you let go, whoosh, it goes away. So now, since we have system settings over here, and you can really easily get to system settings right here, I'm like, why? I don't really need it to be here, so let's go ahead and get rid of that one. And as you can see, as I start removing apps from the dock, I'm gaining a ton more room where I can go in and put apps that I know I'm going to use every single day. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove some of these applications that I'm like, hey, I don't use those most of the time. And here at my work, I don't use Safari either as a web browser. Instead, I use Microsoft Edge. So I'm going to come over now and get into my application. So as you saw there, I just clicked on the launcher to get up to all of my applications. And then here on my MacBook Air, I'm just using two fingers to swipe towards the left. So swiping from right to left. And here we go. We've got all of the applications that I have added to my Mac. So let's take a look here. We got Microsoft Edge. I'm going to go ahead and drop that down here in the dock. I'm just click and drag it and release it, and now it's here in the dock. I also use Microsoft Outlook, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that down here. And then Microsoft Teams, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drag that. I use that all the time. There we go. So that's how we get some different apps down into the dock. Now, if I wanted to rearrange these, right now, if I try to click and drag, it's not going to do anything. So I need to get out of the launcher. So just click anywhere in an empty area on the launcher, and you'll come back to the desktop. And now if I wanted to rearrange these applications, you'll see that they just kind of move around as I click and drag them from one point to another. So very quick and easy to optimize the dock and put exactly the apps that you're going to be using so they're right there at your fingertips. So one other thing you'll notice here as I am inside of the launcher and I can see all the different custom applications that I've added to my Mac is they're really kind of disorderly and they're just all over the place. And partly the reason for this is because I just created this account and added it to the Mac, and so it just kind of puts everything that is not automatically added to your app over here on page 2, and then things that are from Apple are over here on page 1 of the launcher. Now, if you were to add, say, like all of Microsoft Office at one time, they would all be lined up in a row. So what I like to do to optimize how my apps and things appear inside of the launcher is I like to create groups. So I can start by, here we've got, tons of Microsoft Office stuff all over the place. I'm just going to grab Microsoft Word and I'm going to click on it and drag it over here, and I'm going to hover over top of Outlook, and you'll notice that now it kind of has created this group. Right now it's called Productivity. I'm going to click on it and I'm just going to call this Microsoft All right, and we'll hit return, and now I have created a group for my Microsoft apps. So now I can just start grabbing my other Microsoft apps, drag them to that group and let go. And there we go. It's going to add it in. Let's go ahead and add PowerPoint inside of there, and we'll put Microsoft Teams in there, and OneDrive. Here we go. And what do we got? We got the Windows apps. This is for remote desktop. We'll drop that in there. We've got Microsoft Defender, and we'll drop that in there. Microsoft Edge. Sometimes this happens where when you go to add it, it keeps on pushing the app out of the way, and you're like, no, I'm really trying to add it inside of there. So one thing that you can do is you can just move the entire group to a location that's not going to bounce back and forth between two different lines. And now when I click and go into it, it knows I'm trying to add that application there. So now I can quickly find my Microsoft apps inside of the launcher. I just open up Launcher, click Microsoft, and there's all of my apps. And I can even go in here and rearrange them if I want to. Like maybe I want Microsoft Teams over here. Maybe I want Microsoft Edge to be at the very beginning, whatever. I can go in and rearrange them so I know exactly what they're going to look like. Now, let's jump into system settings, and I'm going to show you how to optimize how your desktop and your files and folders and some of that types of things. We're going to take a look at how to optimize those for your experience as well. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up an application that is not here inside of the dock. So actually I can just go in and do system settings, right? I'm going to open up system settings. And one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to see that there's now these two little lines, and I can see an open application that is not on the dock. It's not pinned to the dock. I'll go ahead and open up the Notes app here. All right. And you'll see that it is on the left-hand side of the System Settings app. So this is letting me know that I have an application that's open, but it's not pinned to the dock. Now, if I were to go over here and close out of the application that was open, I've closed out of System Settings, and I know it's closed because there's no little black dot underneath it, but it's still sitting inside of the dock. Now, I like to keep things really neat and tidy on my desktop, and I don't always like to see the latest applications I've opened. Some people do. That's okay. If that's you, go ahead. You can see whatever the latest applications were that you opened. But for me, it's taking up valuable space inside of my dock, even though it's closed. So what I can do is I can go into the System Settings, and we're going to come down here to Desktop and Dock, and now we get to optimize how the desktop and dock are working. And right here we have this Show Suggested and Recent Apps in the Dock. I'm just going to toggle this off, and now you'll see that the little line that was to the left of System Settings has moved away, and now if I close out of System Settings, boom, it just disappears off of the dock, and my dock goes right back to being nice and clean, and only the apps that I use all of the time are sitting there. So it's an easy way. Turning that setting off is an easy way where if you've opened an app, maybe you're not even sure if you're going to use it, or maybe you don't use it all the time and you don't want to see it there because you've opened it like a week ago and all of a sudden it's showing up in your dock. You can turn that setting off, and it's not going to show up over there. So let's go back into System Settings, and let's see some other things that we can do here. So the first one has to do, or the second one, I guess, also has to do with the desktop and dock. And that is, we're going to slide down just a little way. So I'm using 2 fingers to swipe up on the trackpad. And right here, I've got my default web browser. Since here at work, I use Microsoft Edge rather than Safari, I'm going to go ahead and change that over to Microsoft Edge as my default web browser. And then I'm going to keep going down here under Mission Control automatically rearrange spaces based on the most recent used. I don't like it when the Mac automatically rearranges my spaces. And I know I haven't even talked about spaces yet, but let's go ahead and toggle this off, and then we can dive into talking about spaces and how those work. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close out of, well, actually, there's one other thing that I usually do while I'm in here. So let's go ahead and take care of that. And that's this right here. It's called Hot Corners. So years ago, in macOS, they decided to do this thing where you could customize different things to happen when you moved to the corner of a screen. So in this instance, you can see nothing happens if I move all the way to the upper right or the upper left, and nothing happens if I move down here. But by default, if you move down to the lower right-hand corner, it's going to pop up, and it's supposed to be showing the Notes app. I don't know why that's not working. If I click on it, it's going to just take me into a new note. I'm going to type in notes, but let's try this again. Now, let's go ahead and close out. I'm going to Command Q, get out of the notes. Now I can see if I go down here, it says note, and if I click on it, it's going to open my latest note. And then I can start kind of typing up a quick note. I'm not always crazy about notes popping up every time I come down here into the bottom right hand of my screen. So I can fix that by going back into the system settings. We'll go down to desktop and dock, scroll all the way to the bottom, click on Hot Corners, and now I can go ahead and tell it, I just give it this little minus, and that means nothing is selected down there. Now, maybe Hot Corners are something that you want to use on your Mac, and I don't like it, but maybe you will. So you can always come in here and say, hey, every time I go down to the bottom left corner, I want to automatically start up the screensaver. Or, maybe when I go to the bottom right, I want it to automatically go to the Notes app, or maybe go to the desktop, or anything that you see here on this list. You can program it to one of the corners. I don't like things popping up on me while I'm trying to do something else, and if you pin something like this up to the upper left-hand side, a lot of times you'll be going up here to the Apple menu, and you'll go just a little bit too far, and then all of a sudden your Mac is doing something, and you're like, no, I wanted the Apple menu, and now it's gone. So totally up to you, but I like to go in there and turn that feature off. All right, as you can see here in the system settings, this is also where you're going to make different connections to your Wi-Fi, to Bluetooth. You've got your network settings if you're connected to a network through a network cable. You've got information about your battery. We can see here under General, we have things like About, where you can see all kinds of information about your Mac, what your Mac's name is, a ton of other information inside of there. And if we come up here and click the little left-hand tick mark that's up at the top, we click on that, it's going to take us back one menu. We can go in and check for software updates and things by clicking on this one. It looks like I'm fully up to date right now. You can make changes to how your Mac autofills passwords and all of that kind of stuff. So definitely go through all of the settings and just kind of poke around and see what all is there. That way you're familiar with where it is at. It's very, very similar to the iPhone menu. So if you're used to going into settings on your iPhone, Apple has updated this to kind of look a lot more like it. You can make changes to your display by going here, anything that happens on your desktop and dock inside of here. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we can see things like the lock screen, privacy and security, setting up Touch ID if you want to register another fingerprint. And you can even add other users. So if you have multiple users on your Mac, you're going to do that here under users and groups, and all of that. So, yeah, that's it for the settings. Let me jump into Finder now, and I'm going to show you some things that I do to optimize Finder. So the first thing you'll notice is that when I open Finder, by default, it lands right here on Recents. And if I had a whole bunch of different files and folders and things that I had been using recently, it would show them here under Recents. Now, for some people, that's great. But most of the time, when I'm opening up Finder, I'm actually trying to get into my Documents folder so that I can go in and see all of my different folder trees and what's inside of here, maybe access a file that I'm trying to open up. So I like to optimize this for that purpose. So what we can do is we're going to go up here to Finder and we're going to click on Settings. And there's a couple of things that I do here. The first one is I'm going to jump on over here to Advanced, and I'm going to click on keep folders on the top when I'm in Windows, when sorting by name, and all of the files on the desktop. Right here where it says when performing a search. So that is if I use the little search icon to search for files and folders. By default, it's going to search the entire Mac for whatever it is that I type in there. But a lot of times, especially as you get a whole bunch of different files inside of a particular folder, you may know that, hey, this file is, it's here inside of my tutorials folder. I don't want to search the whole entire Mac for it because I know that it's here within that folder. So I like to change this to only search the current folder. That way, if I'm looking for a file and I click over here on tutorials and then I click search and I start searching for the file, it's not spending all that time digging through every single file on my Mac looking for something as I'm typing it in. Instead, it's super fast and it just searches that folder. So once again, a setting that for you, maybe you don't remember where you put a file on your Mac and you're like, hey, I just need to find the file. I have no clue where it's at. Maybe you want to leave that set to search your entire Mac. Just understand that if it's set that way when you're doing a search, then it could take a little bit longer for it to find that file or folder. Now, you can always, when you come in here and search, so let's say I'm looking for something that's maybe within my applications. Let's go Word. I'm going to type in Word. And since I changed this to search the current folder, it's not pulling anything up. I can, at this point in time, say, hey, I want to actually search the entire Mac. So maybe every once in a while, I want to search the entire Mac and not always search in the current folder. I can easily just click on that, and now it's going to search the entire Mac for every file that I have access to that may contain Word. And here we go. We've got Microsoft Word popping up for us. So yes, most of the time when I'm searching, I'm looking for a particular file that I know is within these folders. So I'm going to leave this setting set to search the current folder. But just know that you'll always have the opportunity just to click this Mac and then it immediately goes through and searches the entire Mac. Now, as you can see, this was super fast. I'm on an M2 MacBook Air and on a brand new account on that Air, and there's almost no files and folders on this account. So it's just going at lightning speed, jumping in there and finding stuff. As you add hundreds of files and folders and music and pictures and videos and all of that to your Mac, those searches will start to take a little bit longer. But I will say M2 or anything better than an M2, even the M1s still are crazy amazing fast at searching for different files and folders. So one other setting that I like to change here in the Finder settings is right here under General. Right here, you can see new Finder windows show, and by default, it's set to recents. So as I was saying a moment ago, if I open up Finder, it just lands under recents, and that works great for a lot of people. But most of the time when I go in, I'm actually trying to get into my documents folder because that's where I store all of or the majority of my files and folders. So I can just go ahead and click on this little drop-down menu, and I'm going to change this over to documents. And now when I close out of Finder and reopen it again, you're going to see right away it immediately goes to documents rather than into recents. So one last thing that I like to do to optimize my Mac has to do with the lock screen. So right now, if I close the lid to my Mac and immediately open it back up again, or open it within 5 minutes, my Mac is still going to be unlocked, which means if I'm in a public location, or maybe even if I'm just leaving my office, if I close the lid to my Mac, it doesn't actually go into sleep mode, and it doesn't lock the Mac, which means somebody else could come in behind me and open the lid and immediately be logged into my account. I don't like doing that for security purposes, especially here at work. Maybe around the house, that's okay. So if all you do is use your Mac around your house, you may not need to change this setting, but I like to go over here to the lock screen, and right here where it says require password after screensaver begins or the display is turned off, you can see the default is 5 minutes. I'm going to go in here and change it to immediately. Now it's going to ask me for my password, so we'll go ahead and type that in real quick. And now if I lock my screen, so I can do Command Control Q, which it's not going to log me out, and it's not going to quit an application like Command Q does. So Command Control Q locks the screen. Then I would need to use my fingerprint or my password to log back in immediately. So it's a really quick way to lock your Mac. Or if you're on a MacBook Air or MacBook Pro, you can just close the lid and immediately the Mac is locked. So you can be sure that if you're, in a conference room in a meeting and your Mac is there and you need to step out for a minute, just close the lid, walk away. Nobody can open up your Mac and just start using stuff on your account. Or maybe you're, at home and you've got kids or other people around your house or dorm room, and you don't want them accessing your Mac. I highly recommend changing this from 5 minutes to immediately. That way, if the screensaver starts up because you've walked away from your Mac, or if if your Mac, like you can see mine, if I'm inactive for 2 minutes, so if I forgot to close my screen down or forgot to lock my Mac and I walked away, in 2 minutes it's going to lock itself. And then when I come back, I can just scan my fingerprint to get back in or use my password and get back in. So that is going to be all for now. I think this video was long enough. I hope you learned a thing or two, and hopefully you'll be able to get your new Mac optimized to your liking and get all of the different applications and things that you use every single day loaded into the dock, and hopefully you understand a little bit more about some of your Finder settings and things as well. Hey, if you have questions about how to do things on macOS, iOS, iPadOS, and you'd like to learn some more, please drop down below the video, leave me a question or a comment, and I'd love to address your questions in a future video. All right, we'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.